All right, I'm starting early apparently. So let me get some tunes on. What's going on, Team View Select? Teach! Let me see. I have my own audio somewhere. Surprise raid! I didn't know. You all showed up here. It's totally surprising. I did not see it coming. So yesterday we were working on these Rust exercises on Exorcism.io. And thanks for the follow up, guy. Shocked face. Look at all these people. I actually just got back from lunch and some other stuff. Okay, awesome. Oh, I gotta turn the bot on. Bot, where are you? Okay, the bot is on. Or does he just skip my streams now? Eric is about to get both QR slots. So I'll get a QR code for my Twitter and one for Twitch. Is that how that works? But you have to still name it Teach so that he still uses it and he just doesn't know that it no longer goes to his stream. I need more Twitter followers. I do. I do. I don't have nearly enough. Okay, so we did end up having the thing that I submitted yesterday graded or scored or whatever you want to call it. That got accepted. They kind of liked it. So we're going to move on. And today it looks like we get to actually move into some new features like derive and traits. And I don't think we can do that till it's accepted. But these are actually things I haven't played with yet is traits. You can do what I did. What do you mean? Node.js spam bot? Oh, explain Exorcism. Okay, so if you weren't here for yesterday, so Exorcism.io is kind of like this challenge-based way of learning a language. So there's a whole bunch of language tracks. I happen to be using the Rust one because I'm going to be working on a project in Rust using GStreamer. And you can enter this, and you can either do it in practice mode, which is just you completing the exercises, or you can do it in a mentored mode, which means you submit it and then somebody who is intimately familiar or at least more familiar than you with the language will review your submission. So can we look at the one we did yesterday? Did we get to see their information? Here we go. So, my mentor says, congratulations, and, gave a hint on the fact that I could do this, kind of express this in a much smaller way. And so these types of things I find really, really helpful because I think that learning the syntax is probably the easier part. Being familiar with the packages that people use commonly for things, being familiar with the standard library and the methods that are available there, and some of like the idioms and patterns for a language. That's the stuff that takes much longer to do. So I figured this would be a nice little exercise. It hits us with some challenges, and we get to kind of learn from the mentors. And if any of you know Rust better than I do, I am happy to take advice. I've been trying to help Began as best as I can learn Go. That's my opportunity to flex. Now's my opportunity to look dumb because I know Go really well. I know Rust, like, not at all. I got it. I used a similar online judge for C, but it was automatically tested with comparison outputs and stuff. Oh, okay, gotcha. Twitch banned your bot. All right, so this exercise, we're going to implement a clock that handles times without dates. You should be able to add and subtract minutes to it. Two clocks that represent the same time should be equal to each other. And I will give everybody the opportunity. Yes, you can also volunteer to be a mentor. So if you know a language really well, you should definitely. There are some language tracks that do not have a lot of mentors. Also, if everybody was on Began stream for Go, I am happy to work on the Go bot that everybody is playing with right now too. I have a massive feature list for it. So all of them are in the sense of these primary if you're not in practice mode, so practice mode means I'm just going to go through all of the exercises. And then once you submit your solution, you can view other community members' solutions. So you can go that way. If you're in the mentored track, then all of the main exercises are guaranteed to be kind of reviewed by a mentor. Any of these extra ones that we do, you can have 3 outstanding mentor requests. So if we submit one like, I don't know, this one, nope. Where's one we didn't finish? Grades. Is it this one we don't have enough for? But there'll be a button here where you can say request mentorship, and you can only have 3 of those outstanding at one time. Okay. Now the question is, how long are we going to remain blue before Dr. Doomenberg makes us pink again? What does that, wait, what? Okay. So we need to implement traits. So I don't know anything about implementing traits, so I think we're going to have to go to the book for this and some hand-holding from the audience. Okay, so let's see. You should be able to add and subtract minutes to it. So this seems like we're creating a time type. I'm not entirely sure what this is asking for. Let's download it and see. There's usually some sample code, and then we can kind of get a feel for what it's asking for. So this is how we download the exercise. And we should be able to cd into that. And there's usually like a librs in there. So this is going to be our code itself, source librs. Okay. So, all right, so we need to, this is our clock implementation. We've got our struct. It needs a new where we're going to give it our hours and minutes. And then we need to add minutes to it. And so I think that the requirements here said that we can't use dates and times. You can't live without the, yeah, I need to set that back up. New Rust version. Oh, awesome. So does it, so we have to get it because I'm a bleeding edge person. So we have to do the Rust up update. TeamView, let's like keep the bots out of here. They get really spammy. Like if the bot provides a valuable service to everybody in the channel, then they are totally welcome here. But if it's just something you're communicating with and the output of it is only useful to you, like use it in your own channel, please. Just it starts filling up the chat and then people can't have a like an actual conversation about like the topic at hand. All right, so there we go. We're up to date. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the test for this too, just to get a feel for what this wants. All right, so we're going to create a clock with 8 hours and 0 minutes, to string, and we want to make sure that it prints this out. Okay. And then same thing. So this is just sort of looking at the output. Okay. Test hours rolls over content. Oh, okay. So this is going to be where we're going to continuously add time to this. And once it passes a certain time, then we need to roll over. So let's look at this. So that would tell me I don't know how to implement a struct. I'm assuming it's something like this. And then we're going to say we need hours. And I don't know. We only need U8 here. And I guess minutes would be the same thing. Is that how we do it? Field is never read. Okay, that's fine. Clippy what? The paperclip helper. So it looks like there's two components to this. One is a string to time, or not string to time, but our own internal clock to time is going to come out. But it also seems like we need to implement this add minutes feature, which means that we should take our clock and then add some number of minutes to it. And that needs to roll over. So we need to basically look at, you know, if it's 59, then we need to roll it over, right? If I add 8 minutes to 159, then I need to make it 2 hours and 7 minutes. It did not look like it's a 24-hour clock. And so this is sort of the fun thing about these challenges, is it's not just about learning the language, it's like a little bit of brain teasers trying to solve problems. And once we get through this a little bit, I'm going to start working on the actual project, which is doing video streaming through Rust using GStreamer. And maybe we can do a couple of exercises and start looking at that today. Yeah, you can learn Nim on here too. And if anybody wants to contribute to NeoVim, there's a Lua track on here too. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, I guess, is implement. Ooh, we need to implement our toString method or a display trait. Let's look at that first. Okay, so we need to implement display for our type. Okay, so let's first look at here. This should just create a clock, and hours, minutes. Minutes. Oh, okay. For simplicity, we're just going to use their i32. I don't know why they would use a 32-bit signed integer for a value that can never cross 12 in this case and 59 in this case, but okay. Hey GZB, what's going on? Debug has the debug output, but it also returns the input as output. I don't think I know what you mean, Rocker Boo. Okay. So, I don't know what this is. Is this just because I don't have to? Okay. Field is never read. That's okay. Okay. So we need to do this impl format display for clock. I think that's what that was, right? Yep. And let's just go ahead and copy this function signature over. Okay. We're going to get a mutable formatter. Ooh. Let's look at their example. Okay, so that's what we're writing to? I'm so confused. Origin is... But write isn't returning back anything, right? Oh, it's the result of that. Okay, okay, okay. There's a new dice command. Wait, scrolling back. So debug returns X there. as well as do the debug line. Okay, I got you. So in addition to it logging out the value, the function returns the value that you passed in so that it can still be used. Oh, that's actually really, really helpful. Okay, so I understand what this is doing now. So we're just going to copy this too. Because this is going to be fail to resolve use of undeclared type fumped. We need to use standard fumped. And I'm going to call it fumped here because that's what Go calls it. Okay, so in this case, we need to just change inside of here. And we're going to say hours, minutes, hours, minutes. Okay, so that should give us our formatter. And then now we need to implement this add minutes. Thanks for the follow, Lilata? Is that how you pronounce that? Okay. Do we not have sounds? Uh-oh. We need to fix that. Let me see if I refresh our bot. Okay.
Someone finds you interesting,
There we go.
sir. It appears we have a new follower.
Okay. So now we just need to implement our add minutes. So I guess what we should do is we need to look at what the value of minutes is now. We're going to say let m equal self dot minutes plus minutes, right? And then if m is greater than or equal to 60, at this point we know we need to roll over, right? And Rockerboo, I know you are probably sitting here thinking of a functional way that I can do this, but we'll go functional in a second. So noob question out of curiosity, what is Rust good for? Anything that you would use C or C++ for would be the short answer, except it has a lot more constraints over memory ownership and things like that. So a lot of the areas that you typically find like vulnerabilities and crashes and stuff like that for like nil pointers and things in C or C++, you just can't do with Rust. I think my functional pervasiveness isn't out properly in your mind. Okay, so if it is above 60, then we need to hours plus let's talk this out for a second. So the first thing we need to do is divide by 60 to figure out how much to increment hours, right? Then we need to store remainder in minutes. Is that right? I think that's right. So it should be as simple as doing hours equal plus equals 60 divided by, or no, m divided by 60. And oh, we're gonna have an issue here too. We need to check for hours rollover because I think this is a 12-hour clock. Hey Eric, you should start with the futures crate that implements the async in Rust before you learn IO. Yeah, so I've been looking at a few things for that. There was a library. Thanks for the follow, Pvim. What is the name of it now? Is it Tokyo? Is built on top of this library. Um, I was looking at that, and I was looking at some of the new async stuff. Yeah, Tokyo is what I was thinking of. Okay, so now we've done this, and then minutes needs to equal the remainder of that. So we can mod this. Okay. Cannot find value hours. Oh. Self.hours. Self.minutes. However, mismatch type expected struct. Oh, this always burns me. Wait. Okay. What is this? I'm trying to figure out what this is expecting of me. Oh, so all of that was because of that unimplement. No. Oh, I need to update the project. Hey Eric, I'm new to your stream. Are you looking to replace Go with Rust for any purposes you would have used Go for earlier? No, I am not currently looking to do that. So I still use, almost everything I do is in Go. Like this whole bot is written in Go. API servers and things like that, I'm going to go to Go every time for. The reason I'm looking at Rust is I don't know how with all of this field of view stuff, whether you can see, but I've got a bunch of electronic stuff over there. Doing that in Rust instead of C or C++ would be cool. The reason I'm learning it right now is because I plan on doing some video streaming stuff. A video stream switcher, basically multiple RTMP feeds, and then switching to one RTMP out. So you could basically switch between streamers. And all of that stuff is all written in C and C++, either using GStreamer or FFmpeg. And so I have to interoperate with those things. And with Go's CGO, it's very expensive to call out to C. And so I don't want to suffer that penalty. And so Rust kind of is as close to zero cost to do that as possible. And I would really not want to write this in C or C++ itself. I think if you must be productive, then Go is the way to go. Yeah, I mean, I guess it probably depends on the person too and what they were writing beforehand. So there are some things that I do like about Rust. So I'm trying to figure out what this wants from me. Why can't I just return back self? Do I need to make a copy of myself? Yeah, I think you could be fairly productive in Rust as well. All right, so I'm guessing, does this want a new clock? Is that what that's asking for? So I guess we might do something like what? Let C equal dot, is it to owned? Is that what I'm looking for, where we get our own copy of it? No, that's still not what I'm looking for. I still get confused by some of this sometimes. Like, I know I can obviously do like an entirely new clock here, right? No worries, GZB. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, so I know I can do this, right? Why can't I return back my same clock? Let me look at this again, too. What's this error saying? Cannot move out, which is behind a shared reference. All right, let's go with creating our own clock for right now, our new clock. So we're just gonna copy the current clock. Can we not do a self.copy? Clone? Clone? Clone. Okay, that's what we want. Ah. It's funny. So I have plans to implement in the bot. I have plans to implement in the bot the ability to let people screw with my Vim, and it feels like I don't even need to do that right now because I'm doing it to myself. Okay. And now we should be able to return back clock, right? No. All right. I don't understand this. We're going to do a cargo build here because oftentimes the compiler has some really helpful stuff. Consider changing that to mutable. Okay. Well, we know this. Clock is an and a reference that the data it refers to cannot be written. So I was having two states of code and I was also in the middle of a type refactor. So confusing. Hey, Rockerboo, what am I missing here? I want to copy this clock and I can't assign to this because it's behind a reference. Do I really need to do this? I don't want to have to do this. This feels too C to me. So I need to figure out how to get, is it to owned? It's been a while. Nope, that's still not it. Oh, you haven't got the borrowing? All right, let's see if we can pull this up in the Rust docs. So this is behind a reference. That's fine. It already is a mutable reference. Oh, wait. So this is and mute. Expected reference clock found. All right, TeamView, can we like play with your bot elsewhere? I've got like a screen of chat and like 90% of it is just you talking to your own bot. Okay, so I gotta figure out what this is. Well, we get this, right? We're trying to return back a reference to a clock instead of a clock itself. So, I mean, I know I can easily solve that by doing this, right? And just saying, hey, I want self.hours, self.minutes, right? Missing fields, hours, minutes, and initializer. What? Expected identifier found keyword self. Isn't that what we should be using here? Is it really? So this is interesting because in the last one it yelled at us saying that. So here it yelled at us that we could shorten it. Here it yelled at us that we needed to provide the labels. Well, yeah, so that's the thing that I'm curious about. I just don't understand, right? So here, if I just try and return back self, right? Then I get an error that it wants this, but I can't return back this. So that's behind a shared reference. So I'm just not understanding. So and self is a borrowed thing, right? And it wants to be a non-borrowed thing, right? And but to owned also doesn't fix that. Oh, wait a second. Oh, that's yelling at me because that. So to own does the same thing. Clone is also going to return back that. So I feel like I'm missing. Is it into? No. All right, let's go look up the logic about borrowing and stuff. If you don't mutate, it's cleaner. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd have to keep variables here to keep messing with, but I want to solve the problem first. But okay, so let's look up in the doc or in the book first. Let's look up borrowing and how it works. References and borrowing. Okay. Self refers to the type of the implementation block. Right. But it wants us to return it, is the thing that I'm sort of kind of confused by. All right, so the issue with the tuple code in listing 4.5 is that we have to return the string to the calling function, so we can still use the string after the call to calculate length. Okay, well this makes sense to me, right? This is, we're taking in a reference. Maybe what we really want to look at is the code for like using structures and things like that. Yeah, so Rockerboo, I plan on implementing it something like that. I do want to implement the final version to be the functional version, but I also kind of want to understand what that error is and why I'm seeing it. So that's sort of why I'm going this route is right. Sorry, I don't mean a functional version, but like a cleaner version of it. I'm happy to implement that. I just kind of want to see, like, I want to understand what that error is. Like, what is it exactly complaining about? So I know I can implement it that way, the way you're talking about. But I think it's also helpful to understand, like, where that error message is coming from and why I'm getting it. Because I'm sure there's going to be other situations where that stuff happens. Okay, so here's this. Here's this. I want to see the impl. No. Method syntax. Okay, here we go. So methods are similar to functions. They're declared with function keyword in their name. They can have parameters and return values. They contain some code that is run with when they're called from somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this just returns that, but it's not returning self. That's what I want to see an example of. Nope. Nope. Okay, so this might be what we're looking for. So another useful feature of impl blocks is that we're allowed to define functions with impl blocks that don't take self as a parameter. So-called associated functions, because they're associated with the struct, they're still functions, not methods, because they don't have an instance of the struct to work with. You've already used string from. So this isn't... Is that just because of the way this is named? No, this takes self, so add minutes will be called on an instance of this. So, okay. Okay, so let's just let minutes equal self dot minutes. Let hours equal self dot hours. And then being we're tracking all of that there, we can just do, wait. Okay. Why do I need a reference? No, it's already a reference here. Or a borrowed version, I should say. Okay, so if minutes is greater than or equal to 60, then we don't have that anymore. Okay, so if minutes is greater than or equal to 60, we're going to set hours. We're going to add whatever the value of minutes is divided by 60. Set the remainder there. Cannot find value. Ow. Uh-oh. Because I apparently cannot spell. So this is the Rust programming language, TeamView. Yeah. And TeamView, like, let's be real. You've been in several chat rooms over the past couple of days with the bot and spamming it and getting timed out across like at least 3 different channels I saw yesterday. So please don't make me have to like ban you in the bot. Like, everybody wants to learn, everybody wants to have a conversation. If the bot isn't adding value, it's just making it harder for people to communicate. Okay, so we don't need... So at this point, we can return back clock, hours, minutes. See? Okay. Horace will be angry. Okay, TeamView, but you think you're adding games for people, but what you're doing is developing your bot in the channel, in the open, making it hard for other people to do stuff. Bring it in after the game is complete. But right now, I only see you playing with the game, and you're like developing it. Test it out in your channel. When it's all working and it adds value, then bring it in. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so cannot assign... Oh. Let mute. Okay. So now at this point, our only issue should be that we don't roll over hours. Okay. So now we need to check, because I believe that this was a 12-hour clock, right? Where'd it say? Oh, it was in the tests. Okay, so test past the hour, 11:09. Test midnight is 0 hours. Oh, we're going to have to fix this. We're going to have to format that because right now it's going to want double digits. Okay. So we've got two issues. We need to roll over because it does look like we add 25 hours. Oh, we have to do the rollover even on new. Thanks for the follow, Vlad. Okay, so we need to solve this in two places. So I think we end up needing a helper method here. Just thinking. So we're going to have an issue here when we create it. So we're going to have to implement this logic twice. For now, I mean, I guess we could do this, right? We could say 0, 0, and then return back. I don't like that either. We'll fix this in a second. Let's just think about the rollover logic first. What are you talking about? That should work. Okay. So now we need to check that if hours is greater than 12, right? Then just thinking, okay, so if it was 13, we would subtract it, right? We would want modulo, right? Then hours would equal hours modulo.
Sir,
12,
please.
right?
It is not only your reputation at stake here. Do be careful.
Okay. Oh, look, Vega had it. Okay, so let's test this. And we're gonna, could not compile clock. Clock cannot be formatted because it doesn't implement standard FUMP debug. I thought it said we needed to implement, I thought it said we needed to do FUMPed display. What does FUMPed debug look like? The format : is debug is display. Well, our error is saying that we're not implementing it. Does not implement standard format debug. Oh, is that just because we didn't put the macro in front of it? What's the syntax for that? It's like I always forget what this is. Well, no, because this isn't saying that it implements that there. Oh, right. Okay, derive. And that would help. Also, that was a hint in our thing here. Does it show it here? In the tags. In the tags here, it says derive traits struct. Okay, so yeah, so this is our syntax. Oops. All right, what else do we have? Binary opposite can't be applied to clock. Oh, so we need to implement that too. So we've got a few things we need to implement. So we need to figure out how we implement comparisons. And I'm guessing this is going to be, we want partial equal and debug. Okay, there we go. Now we can look at our failing tests. All right, test on hour. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is figure out how to format that with 0 padding on the front. I'm very concerned about your blind update earlier. Well, Xanus, welcome to my channel. I have a habit of updating things to like their bleeding edge. I have lots of wounds from that, and I still do it. And I usually do it right before I have to present. Okay, so the first thing we need to solve is how to format here. So let's look up how to do that. So let's see. There we go. That's what I want. How do I pad? Pad. All of these print hello X. Okay, let's see. This is what we want. So :02 is what we want for each of them. And that should fix that test. Perfect. Okay, so there's one down. Although we do know we're going to have some additional failing tests here. Like lots of them. And that's mainly because... Whoa, we are not rolling over the way I thought we would. Alright, let's just look at one of these. Test compare clocks with overflow by several days. Let's just run this one. Okay, so we'll work with this one first. So this is test compare clock with hour overflow. Test clock hour overflow. Okay, so this is the one we're working with. So this is just comparing the two, which is fine. So hour overflow. Oh, okay, because this is using clock new. And that's because we are not sharing the logic between here. So maybe what we really want is a function that's like function clock from hours and minutes. I don't really know the naming conventions for this stuff. Hours, I32, minutes, I32, And then we're going to return back a self. Okay. And so then we should be able to take all of this here, move that into this function. No. So we don't need self for that. Oh, what am I thinking? I don't need all of it. I'm crazy. Okay, so what we really need is to fix the original method. This should be a new. Then we should just return back for our add minutes. We should just be calling the same thing, right? Clock new, right? Clock new, and then passing it self dot minute or self dot hours plus hours, self dot minutes plus minutes. Oh, there's no hours. Okay. It goes into, so these look almost identical to the Python string formatters. So I actually don't use Python, so I'm not as familiar with those. What are we making today? So I'm just going through some of the Exorcism IO exercises for Rust, just to sort of challenge myself. And I'm kind of glad I am, because I'm running into things, you know, with traits and deriving and things like that that I have not come across yet. So it's actually really, really beneficial. Okay, so we don't need this anymore. Right? Okay. All right, TeamView. I've timed you out enough here. I've watched other streamers time you out enough. I've had enough with the like debugging your bot in the channel thing. Build it in your own channel, or like you and the bot will be banned from this channel. And you're gonna watch yourself do this with multiple streamers over and over again until like you're not going to be able to enter people's channels. There's not a lot of live coders on Twitch, and I've watched you frustrate at least 4 or 5 of them in the last 2 days with the spamming of the development of your bot. So let's okay. So let's see. This should solve our issue now, because now on new we're handling rollover. And then on add minutes, we're just calling new because it expects a new one anyway. And we're just passing it some ridiculous value for minutes, which should still work. So let's test it. We failed. Why? So our hours logic is flawed. So let's print this out. I want to print, let's print out what it looks like beforehand. So let's see what hours ends up being. And let's print it after to see what happens. Oh, I need the Minus, minus, no capture. Not seeing it. Does it go? I thought it was, I swear it's a parameter here. Is it up here at this level? No, that's not right. So is hours not greater than 99? Okay, let's see. If I use modulo, I mean, that's also possible. My concern here is, so this is only if the minutes are greater than 60. I had it completely in the wrong spot. How about now? Okay. So that was my issue. That was just a silly bug. I had my hour rollover check in the same conditional if the minutes had rolled over. Okay. Let's see. Cargo test. Ignored. Yeah, TeamView, you can run a command to make it leave the channel. So, TeamView, if you want to be courteous, let's just, I know Beacon's not on, so let's just go to Beacon's channel and I will show you. Oh, wait, this is going to get echo. There's a chat link here where you can click the chat of your own channel without you being on. So have it join your channel and do all of your debugging there, which is what I do if I'm not on stream. What's going on, Thamar? Okay. So we've got some passing and some failing. So let's see. Oh, we did not account for negatives. So that means we need to roll backwards. Is that what all of our checks are? Yep, all of our checks are for rolling backwards. All right, so now we need to recheck all of our assumptions. So people always be testing a Beacon's offline chat too if you really don't want to use your own. I mean, that's what I do. I just, you know. Okay. So let's see. Hours modulo 12. Is that going to work if we give it a negative number? And we're going to need to subtract it. So we might need those checks. So I have just started my big project. First step is to read CSV file and check every line for misspelling and import it automatic to Mongo. Oh, cool. Don't do the minutes larger than 60. What do you mean? Eric, better approach to learn Rust would be to start from async, the do async IO, then TCP, and then a little bit of machine level code. What do you mean? You mean just when I start getting into doing async stuff in IO? Right now, I'm just trying to learn kind of like the syntax and learning things like derive and trait and how to do structs and how to do generics and just sort of trying to understand the language itself. But yeah, so some of this stuff that we're running into now, you know, is a lot of like problem solving the problem itself, which is kind of frustrating at points because I mainly want to focus on learning the language specific features, but I mean, it also helps because, you know, along the way we discover stuff. So knowing the pitfalls of async first would be good to know generally. Yeah, I mean, if you have a recommendation for where to go to learn that, I mean, we can totally do that. Happy to do it on stream too. All right, I'm just trying to think of mathematically now. Do we need to do another check to say if minutes are less than? They're less than 0? I feel like we can do this mathematically without doing that. TeamView, you were spamming Began's channel yesterday. You spammed my channel. You spammed Aaron Schlesinger's channel. CM Griffin ended up timing you out too. Like, there was a variety of them. You have to understand that people are trying to interact with streamers and with each other about the topic that is taking place on the stream. And if they can't see the communication between each other, or the streamer can't see the communication from the viewers, it takes away kind of the whole benefit of doing this when everybody's just seeing you talking to your bot and it's offering no value to anybody else in the channel, especially when you're just developing. What languages do I code in? Primarily Go. I'm trying to do some Rust, but you know, obviously over the years I've done some Bash. In the past, I've done some Java. I've done some JavaScript and stuff like that in the past, but mostly Go for the last 9 years with, you know, some JavaScript here or there and some random Python or Ruby. I did Ruby and stuff like that too. I feel like there's a better way to do this. We could, if we overflowed it, I'm just thinking here, if we kept a value, let's just kind of toss this out, rubber duck this for a second. If we just had a value that represented minutes, right? Then we could shift that in either direction. Perhaps and then split it.
Rubber ducking session is in order, sir.
Exactly. What was my first programming language? My first programming language, I messed around with a version of BASIC when I was like 14. It's hard to remember or how serious I got. The first language where I really started building stuff, aside from like little sample things, was probably Perl and Tickle, and then from there it was like PHP. Is the majority of my work in networks or systems design? So for the last 6 or 7 years, it's mostly been distributed systems, especially with a focus on like container related technologies, Kubernetes, Docker, all of that stuff. So prior to working in developer relations at Microsoft, I worked for Comcast as a systems architect, helping design kind of how video streaming is done through like a distributed system there, and failover and things like that. I did spend about 5 years at Disney too, doing web development earlier on in my career. So I've kind of bounced around in different areas of programming. I think I like this idea better. So let's just do this. So minutes is going to equal hours times 60 plus minutes. And I know we have order of operations here, but I always like to be explicit. Okay, cannot assign, let mute minutes. Okay. So now let's just get rid of all of this stuff for now and start rethinking about this. Okay, so now we have, I'm going to make this bigger just because we're gonna need an I-32. We might have some overflow though. I mean, what will tell you that a world is spelled correctly? What? Okay. What DB can be scaled to massive write traffic? Any suggestions? So that would really depend on the type of database that you are looking to build. So if you wanted to handle all of the guts of it, there's a project called RocksDB out of Facebook. That's a persistent key value store that's ridiculously fast. If you want something distributed, a new player on the blocks is CockroachDB, which ends up using RocksDB under the hood. If you want, and it's also open source. Cassandra is another very good one, and then of course, obviously, there's ones that cloud providers offer. Yeah, there is a Cockroach developer that streams on here, but yeah, Cockroach is really, really cool. Yeah, so I was looking at that too. I just need to look at, so I think I need to change this. So I could do well, this could still be a negative number. So I think I want an I-64, right? And do I do as I-64? Does that work? Haha, look at that. As I-32. Missing field hours and minutes. All right, you do need to be mutable. We just haven't mutated you yet. What language that we're writing right now? FlipRex, is that the question? Okay, so now we have this massive variable that's going to represent our total number of minutes in whichever direction. And it would just get more negative. Yeah, so this should work. Okay, in either direction. And so now our hours would equal our minutes divided by 60, right? So that should be right. Okay. We're going to mutate this too. So although we need our minutes divided by 60 modulo 12, right? And then our minutes are going to equal our minutes modulo 60. And then our hours. Oh, that doesn't need to be mutable. I'm hoping I'm doing this right. Let's see. Let's see how bad we screwed this up. Do you do any more languages than just Go on this channel? I'm doing Rust right now. I'll probably do some assembly on here. No, I'm actually not using Go TeamView. I need to update that in the bot. Here, let's do that so it's not confusing. Code, ericbot dev, config, JSON. But I've done some JavaScript on here. I mean, I'll do just about anything. I love just learning. So learning Rust using exercism.io. Okay. Now the project is updated. That's just because I didn't update my bot. That's it. The bot itself is written in Go. I have actually fiddled around with WebAssembly, which is one of the things that I used Rust for. I don't know, several months ago when I was first trying to learn it. Um, like I said, I mostly work in the distributed system space and Kubernetes. So one of the things that we were working on is this project called Crustlet, and that runs as a node agent inside of your Kubernetes cluster and allows you to schedule WebAssembly workloads to nodes using the Kubernetes control plane, which is ridiculously cool. And I don't mean like take WASM and put it in a container. I mean like there's a WASM runtime on the host, and it's the scheduler is picking it up and running WebAssembly. And I did this cool demo with a coworker of mine, Brian Kettleson, where we recreated the scene from The Martian. So we scheduled WebAssembly off to an embedded device, which controlled a robotic arm that I built that points to flags with symbols for hexadecimal.
Wonders may never cease. We have received a new subscriber, sir.
Okay. So we still have some negative issues, but we don't have nearly as many. So let's look at this. Just 0 hour and negative minutes. So what is that supposed to return? So we're gonna have to do
Catastrophic
some.
failure detected. Evacuation protocol has been initiated. Abandoned ship. SOS. Abandoned ship.
This is actually a bit more complex than I was thinking it was.
Evacuation protocol has been initiated. Abandoned ship. SOS.
So this
Abandoned
solves
ship.
most of our cases, except for when we need to like roll backwards past 0, right? So we still have like a negative 22 here or a negative 40. Were they using? Oh, they are using a 24-hour clock. You're right. So, I mean, still fails for that, but because we need to roll backwards. So we still have a negative number here. Thanks for the follow, Vijay. I know some Node. I'm not very great at it, but I do know some Node.js. Okay, so both of these cases happen. All right, let's look at hours first. So now we need to say if hours is still less than 0, then we need to figure out how many back we need to go. So then that would be what? If it's less than 0, then we need to set hours equal to 24 minus that number of hours. Whoa, what is this? How did we get that? Oh. So this is because it's many days. Okay. Oh, they are sneaky with this. All right. So we really want to do hours modulo 24, right? Wait, still? Test subtract more than 2 days. That's not right. Polyglot means several languages. You end up thinking you don't know any language. Yeah, and you'll always have your kind of like go-to language. Right, so polyglot just means that you can get by in many languages, right? Like if I had to work on a C or C++ application, I could do it. I could get around and do stuff. Would I want to apply for a job as a C++ programmer? Probably not, right? All right, what am I missing here? Because I feel like we broke more stuff. All right, hold on. So we're still wrong here. Why is that 25? Hours. Oh, no. We just need hours modulo 24, right? No, we need 24. Hold on. Now I'm starting to confuse myself, everybody. No, we already did. All right, so we've got a negative hour here. Let's just double check here. Left is us. Oh, wait a second. There is no command to crash the bot. What is this? Does that work, WorldWake? And isn't that what we're doing now? All right, so hours. Wait a second. Let me see. So you're setting hours equal to hours plus minutes divided by 60. Right. Modulo 24. But so that's not going to work for the negative numbers, though. That's the current problem that I'm solving now. TeamView, the pastebin code that I'm currently looking at right now is definitely Python. That is not Rust. Oh, you tried it with negatives? All right. This might just be me showing my math ignorance. This is why you should stay in school. All right, so let's just comment out where we're at here. All right, so let's just say let hours. Okay. Let's see. Let's run the tests. Nope. So we still have this same sort of negative issue. We're not rolling the clock backward. The modulo might not be always super well defined for negatives. I'm not sure about the implementation in Rust. Yeah, so the issue really here is that we need to walk backward. So we need there to be, if there's still a negative number, we need to go backward from 0 through 24, 23, 22, and so forth. Yeah, so TeamView, yeah, so we could go find somewhere, right, to solve the issue, but I should clarify what the purpose of the stream that we're currently doing right now is, to explore and to try things and try to see whether we can figure things out on our own, because we are going to learn a lot more about how the language works by trying to accomplish that. So this isn't a thing that I'm trying to build. If it was, I wouldn't spend nearly this much time on, something like this. But that's not really the idea here. The idea is to kind of figure out. Well, I mean, I guess at this point, we've learned what we needed to learn about derive and stuff like that. But now I'm just at that point where it's not going to beat me. But yeah, if we were trying to just build something, right? Like if I was just working on the bot, I would just go find a library that does this, right? I wouldn't sit here and try and build this. Yeah, no worries. Big thing, TeamView, is the more time you spend coding, the more time you spend struggling trying to figure out problems, you end up learning a lot more that way. Because if you just go out, search Stack Overflow for an answer, and then paste it in, you'll never remember that. Okay. So our main issue here is we work for everything except rolling backward. So we need to subtract what that thing is. So now, so it should be hours minus, no, it should be 24 minus hours modulo, right? No. I'm so confused. So we're still saying 30? So the modulo isn't working. Minutes divided by 60, modulo 24. Why does that not work for our hours? I'm going to comment this out and see whether we broke something else. Let's go to the first one. So we're saying -1. Going to be interesting when I do the same problems and it takes 2 times as long because my math is probably worse. I try not to do functional programming in Rust since you should always catch all the errors and deal with them while you are coding. Yeah. Okay, so I think we need to let's look at maybe minutes first. So at this point we're really close. So except for the fact of when one of these values is a negative. So at this point, let's start with minutes. So if our minutes are still negative, right? Oh, we can't do this here. There's a bug here. So we can't really do this modulo here yet, right? Because we need to know what that value is. Because we need to subtract it. Let's see. This works in the case of, let's see, if minutes was negative 200 divided by 60, let's just say, we're just making stuff up, negative 200, oh, would be negative 3 hours. So that would be setting it that way. And we would, modulo would throw away that. Okay, so that should be right. Hours is I64 times 60. Hey Genrise, what's going on? Yeah, all the code for the bot is available publicly. And we really need to get back to working on that too. Maybe I'm gonna stream an extra day this week. I'm gonna stream Friday, and maybe we'll do that. I'm fine and have a question for you. Sure, I'm here for you. What's your question? Okay. So this is negative 22. So we still need to subtract that. So at this point, we've got multiple. So if the minutes are less than, then we need minutes. Minutes are going to end up equaling minutes 60 minus, no, minutes needs to equal 60 minus the minutes. But that's not, no, because we've already equated the hours off of it. Okay, so this will still fail, but that should get us, or we just pick one of these things here. Negative hour. I am messing this all up. I'm learning Python, my first programming language at the moment, but I simply just started learning Python because I heard that it is the most easy to start with. And now I'm at the point where I know what I want to do. And to do that, I need to learn C#. And I'm struggling between quitting Python and starting with C#, or staying with Python until I have bigger knowledge and it's easier to learn C#. What would you recommend to do? Okay, GZB says learn C#. They are very different languages if you end up C# using it. What do you need C# for Unity? Okay, so I'm going to give you a very hot take here. So I think if you are just starting to program, focusing on what language you're going to use is not nearly as important as time spent learning that language. You're going to build up a foundation. And once you get a handle on one language very well, it becomes increasingly easier to learn future languages, right? So like this is me experimenting learning Rust. Well, you know, we're actually struggling more with the mental hurdle of solving this problem than we are with the syntax of the code. That becomes easy. You can pick up a new language. So if you've got a lot of material on learning Python and things like that, then, you know, stick with it, because it's not completely wasted effort. It's not like you're going to spend all of your time learning Python and then you're going to go to C# and you're going to start all over. There's a lot of programming concepts and just the frame of mind of how to think and solve problems in a programming way that are going to shift themselves over. Let's see. I'm not sure what's going on TeamView here with the like don't care stuff. The stream isn't just for you there, dude. Other people kind of want opinions and things like that and advice, and it's not just about what advice is for you. And additionally, what's easy for you is not easy for other people. We all have different backgrounds and things like that, and all of that helps make learning something easier. If you've never touched a computer before, learning a programming language is going to be freaking hard, right? Like if you grew up and were taking computer courses in school, then learning how to program probably is not nearly as hard, right? Okay, so what we're trying to solve right now is this this programming challenge here, and the description is not as good, but effectively we need a clock, right? And maybe the best thing to do is to look at the tests. So we create a new test type, and we're going to give it 8 hours and 0 minutes. It needs to print out 8, right? 11:09, 00. So we have all of that logic working. The difficulty we're having right now is in this sort of thing. We're giving it negative 25 hours and negative 160 minutes, and we need to like roll the clock back. Yeah, no worries, Genrise. Yeah, and I mean, you know, the languages I first used to learn programming aren't even that common for people to use nowadays. So, but all of that stuff, time programming, and here's the thing I will tell you. If the thing that you want to learn in C# is going to hold your interest more than the thing you're trying to build in Python, then switching is advantageous. And that's mainly just because you're going to struggle in the beginning. You're going to fight things. And if you have something that you want to build that holds your interests, you're going to be more likely to put the time in. And putting the time in is the most important thing. Yeah, McCann, I have no idea how to make a clay pot. Yeah, so TeamView, one of the features is there's 6 lights in the ceiling, 3 in this fan that you can't see here, 1 light bar, there's a thing there, up top here is some ropes, down there some ropes, same thing for over here. I want to be able to make it where you can control them individually so people can start playing with that. And hey, if everybody wants to switch to that, we can totally do stuff on the bot. We can just change the title and move over and do some Go on the bot, because that's ridiculously fun to play with. Okay, so is what even a language? Visual Basic? Yeah, of course so. Thanks for the follow, Genrise. All right, so this is the big thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around that I'm doing completely wrong. So we're getting to a point where these are individual values that are at least not greater than the number. Test hour and negative minutes. So we need to roll back. So we need to 60 minus 82, or no. 82 minus 60. Well, we already did a modulo on it, right? We did. So that should only get us what's left. So how are we still having 82 there? Can who share a gist? What would you like me to share, GZB? I have an idea for leveling up a SO command. So Aaron was working on an SO command for the bot. Here, let's first do this poll. question. Continue or switch to bot. All right. Well, I know you have a particular interest in the bot, but oh, of the lib file, sure. All right, let's do that. And I'm going to go ahead and also give you let's see if this works. Nope. I don't think this is going to work. Yep, there we go. Okay. Only if a bot could vote. What? A bot doesn't care what we do. That's funny. 67% with 2 votes. All right. So there's the gist if anybody else wants to work on this. And I mean, we can move on to a different problem too if we want. Because right now I think we're more wrapping our head around problem solving than we are actually learning features of the language. Okay, so it's funny, I build all kinds of complex software all of the time, and I like these like we're fighting with like these little cheesy code challenges of like building a rolling clock. It goes to show the difference between like little programming challenges, you know, or even interview questions, and like the difference between those and like a real world application. You can take somebody who's been writing software for 15 years and give them a problem like this and okay. So we're doing 17 hours and 3 minutes. No, so it's not supposed to be. Wait. I don't think that this says what it's supposed to. Hold on. I think it's. Okay, no, it is supposed to be a 24-hour clock. Okay. You would like to move on to another problem now? Okay, let's do that. So Rust is a systems programming language that's used for a lot of stuff. Anything you'd use C or C++ for. So you can build operating systems in it. You can do hardware stuff with it. You can just... All right. So we'll back up here. And this is the main one, but let's do one of the other little exercises here. That is one thing here, though, that I have found with some of these things that we're doing, is we spend a lot of time like just trying to mentally solve a problem and not actually on the language feature. Yeah, WorldWake. That's the thing. At first I thought that these things were like super cool, like, hey, let's do this. But now I think the last 2 streams, we've spent most of the stream trying to solve one problem. And the problem is we got through the thing it wanted us to learn about Rust really quickly. It was just trying to figure out how to make all the test cases work. And so it's just, it makes hitting the language features much slower. And if anybody has another way, I'm also happy to, if everybody wants, we can just start playing with GStreamer and start trying to build this thing. Because the thing I ultimately want to build is the GStreamer control. All right, Bob is... Okay, I've seen it, and I've seen that it's on some of the lists of what to learn, but I wasn't sure what it all could be used for. Yeah, it can be used for basically anything as a systems programming language. Start with GStreamer? All right, let's do that. Okay, let's do that. Here, let me let's see. Where's my button? No. Let's see. Just gonna change our stream title here real quick. Nice, I don't know what that was. All right, let's see. And that font is so small. Playing with Rust and GStreamer. Okay. Done. All right, let's do it. I guess we can leave most of this out of the way. Does anybody want to run down first on what GStreamer is and how it works before we start trying to dive in? Let's see. +1 GStream. Okay, that looks like most people want to do that. Awesome. Okay, McCann, let's break some stuff. WorldWake, I've had a bunch of job interviews where I wasn't invited to the next interview step because basically people weren't impressed with how I didn't manage to solve some tricky stuff like this live. Yeah, and there's a little bit of that too. I'll get a little flustered with things like that when I'm doing it in front of people. Nobody wants to play with the WebSocket that Twitch connects to. What are we talking about, GZB? And Xanos, what are we talking about? Yes. Yes, please explain in brief. Okay, so GStreamer, and maybe one of the best things to do is pull up an example pipeline. There we go. I want this. Give me that really big. There we go. Okay. So GStreamer is like basically a pipelining system. TeamView, like, I get you're excited about bots, but work on your bot. So the way GStreamer works is it's basically a pipelining system. And so we have a couple of different types of nodes in the pipeline. So we have sources. So that could be like reading from a file, or reading from a URL, RTMP, RTSP, things like that. There's also some custom ones like an auto where it will kind of discover based on the URL. And then at the other side, we have a sync. And so a sync is how we get the video or audio out. And everything in the middle is a filter. So sources only have, and each of these elements in the pipeline have what are called, oh, we're talking about interview questions. Okay. So at me if you're asking a question about this so that I recognize that between the other conversation that's happening. Okay, so on each of these elements, we have things called pads. And pads are basically connections. If you think about soldering wires together or something, right? So sources have source pads, sinks have sink pads, and then filters are the things in between have one or more both source and sink pads. And so that allows us to kind of create these things where it's like, okay, we're going to have a file source, and then we're going to send that through a type find filter, and then we're going to route that out to a demuxer that's going to split our audio and video, and then we're going to connect those things to the other side, and then we can kind of do these things, and through each of these pipelines we can end up changing it. We can re-encode it to a different format, things like that. So you can do all of this on the command line using one of these like commands you see down here. It's doing the same thing, right? So this location is just a parameter to this file source, and it uses exclamation points as its way of piping things, because obviously pipe is taken. So we can do all of this on the command line, but we're going to do one programmatically. And if we look at here, let's just do a GST inspect. And so what's a good one? We'll just look at RTMP source, right? And so we can see the docs for this individual thing. You can draw out the architecture for your pipeline. What do you mean, Rocker Boo? So there is an environment variable that you can set when you do the pipeline, and it will generate a graphiz diagram of your pipeline. Is that what you're referring to? Or are you saying, are you asking me to draw one for what I plan to build? Okay, so if we look at this, this kind of gives us the documentation for this stuff. So here we can see our pads. We have a source pad, right? And that's the only thing. And these are the properties that we can set on it. The location of the feed, what we're going to name it, things like that, whether or not there's a timeout, and that's it. And we can look at the sync counterpart. This is if we're sending RTMP out. And so here we can see pad template. Okay. And there's our pad named sync and our properties. Can you draw out the architecture? Well, so we can have something as reference for the bigger thing, but maybe you're not getting into the multiplexer step. Yeah, so we probably won't get to that today. I mean, we got 2 hours, but so and so maybe one of the things that'd be helpful to look at is some Rust code that uses this. But essentially, what's a good drawing tool that I can use? Either web-based or... Thanks for the follow, Harrison. Let's see. I know I can do the drawing thing, but I really like something... What's Excalidraw? Okay, this might work because we're going to do shapes. Perfect. Can we invert the colors? There we go. Okay. So the idea here is that we're going to have like some series of outputs, right? And how do we put text in here? Text. All right. So let's just call this Twitch. And apparently, how do I change my font? There we go. So this would be, say, like, we have a Twitch channel, and we have a bunch of stuff that wants to go out to the Twitch channel. Free code camp and data structures. Okay, I can find your direct link if you're interested. All right. How do you manage to work and streaming at the same time? What do you mean? Do you mean like the ability to code while talking it out on stream? Or do you mean like, how do I manage to keep a job while also being a streamer? Okay, and let's just say we have something else here too, like maybe even like a YouTube. Let's add that too. right? So we've got these couple of places that we could potentially send our data to. YouTube. All right. Okay. So these are sort of like our syncs. Not developing a Twitch. Nice. No, like having a job while being a streamer. Yeah. So I actually, the division I work for in Microsoft, I do open source engineering. And that's also a subgroup of Microsoft's developer relations group. So a lot of my job is actually community outreach and doing things like that for the community. So I used to speak a lot publicly before the pandemic. I used to travel around and speak at conferences and things like that as part of my job. So now I kind of stream in place of that. And because I do a lot of open source work, that means I can also do that while streaming, because I can just turn on the stream while I'm working on an open source project. Okay. So now the thought is, let's say we've got a couple of speakers. So oh, that's the fill. Whoa, no, that's not what we wanted. Oh, that's for the box, not my text. Okay. Text. How do they measure metrics for a job like yours? Amount of PRs merge into OSS code or not? No, so those things are a little harder to measure, and so it's really difficult to measure things like that. So we have some metrics and stuff like that we use, but most of it, like, I'm a principal level person, so we're mostly kind of trusted to do things that help Microsoft with their goals and things like that. So there's a lot of there's kind of, I guess, a lot of trust in that we're working on things that are helpful. But yeah, Microsoft does pay me to do open source, especially in the Kubernetes world. Okay, so this is going to be streamer 1. Streamer 1. Okay, so we've got streamer 1. Can we copy this? Nice. Okay, and we have streamer 2. I'm going to separate these things up a little bit too. Okay, so we've got our 2 streamers. And now the issue is, what we really want is we want one stream. One cohesive stream. Say hi to Bill Gates. He doesn't work there anymore. Twitch pays streamers in the sense that I guess you get ad revenue and you get a percentage of subscription money and bits and things like that. I think they take almost all of it. I mean, I guess I'm guessing that game streamers make good money. You know, people who have hundreds of thousands of people who watch them, but I don't think I know of anybody who is getting paid full-time by Twitch to stream as a coder. I'm a pawn in Microsoft. No, because, so here's the thing. There's a lot of upstream contributions that I do too, right? So, you know, one of the projects I built and worked on was this virtual kubelet project, right? Open source, there's a lot of people using it. It's being used at Netflix and things like that now. You know, I actually had it where it was pluggable, where multiple cloud providers could use it. But it's also beneficial to our customers. So sometimes there are things where, you know, goals align like that. I'll contribute things to upstream Kubernetes that help the AKS team. You know, oftentimes if I'm building open source that helps our customers, then I'm ultimately helping the company as well, right? So I think there's a lot of C++ people at Microsoft, and that's the Rust thing. There are some teams in Microsoft that do use Go, though. I'm an AI bot Microsoft made to sell us on open source marketing. Okay, so here's the end goal that we have. So the idea here is, if say you are hosting an online conference, right? You might have all of your speakers and you're live broadcasting on Twitch. Well, currently you have one stream key, or each person has their own stream key, and then they're both pushing and fighting with each other. So what we really want to do is we want to build something here in the middle that facilitates this, right? So, and we want pull. So we want, whoa. All right. So we want basically a mixer here out in the cloud that goes out to here. So the streamer is going to stream to an RTMP endpoint. So really you've got OBS over here talking to this RTMP endpoint that's just sitting there, right? And then we have this mixer in the middle that's responsible for pulling from the stream that we want to be live right now, and then pushing out to one or more outputs, right? So this basically serves as a video switcher. And if you're familiar with like actual production switchers, it's basically the same thing, right? We have a box that all of the inputs go into, and then we've got previews, and then we are like, okay, we want channel 1 to go out to HDMI 2, right? What's your favorite resources for learning Kubernetes? I'd like to hear your opinion from someone who works on it as much as you do. Work is starting to push a transformation, and we are having to kind of retrain, repurpose people. Okay, so Goombak, I would ask you first, what is it that you would like to learn to design and build applications that run on Kubernetes, or to be an SRE or a system administrator on a Kubernetes cluster? Because they're two distinct skill sets. People, what kind of craziness is that, McCann? Psh, asking you to work. It's just nonsense. Okay, so this is sort of the idea that we have here. Is what we want to build is we want to build this box, right? So this is effectively going to be a GStreamer application. We're going to have a web UI into it. And in addition to that, there's another component. If you were here on the days that I recommended the Imposter Handbook, Rob Connery is also a coworker of mine who authored that book, is working on this component. And this is the scheduler. And so this might actually allow the, let's just, videos. Okay. All right, so we might actually also want this to pull from videos to play. What are we talking about? I already pinged you 20 times, Elon Musk. Don't have to do it again. I don't think Twitch allows pulling their stream data into another program. Can I please rickroll chat? GZB, what are we talking about? No, so I'm using this to represent pull because this is the stream switcher going out and requesting the data from here. So can one of the streamers also be the controller? So the reason that this is going to work this way. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So who asked about Twitch fetching stuff? Okay, so if you think about it this way, usually you are the streamer and you are pushing directly to Twitch, right? So this would represent OBS, right? And then you're going straight to Twitch. So what we're trying to build here is really this is the streamer, right? This is OBS. Okay, so here we have OBS. Okay. So, uh-oh. How do I get that to go away? That's not helpful. All right, we're gonna have to move this like up here or something. All right, so in this case, we're gonna have OBS push to an RTMP endpoint, and this will be like a container I spin up somewhere, right? And this will be streamer 2. And streamer 2 is going to push to this endpoint, right? So OBS pushes to an individualized RTMP server for each streamer, and then our switcher, let's just put that here, switcher, okay. Then our switcher is going to decide based on the schedule that, well, at 1 p.m., streamer 1 goes on. So we're going to go fetch streamer 1's stream and push it out to Twitch. We're going to bridge these two connections, right? And then it's like, well, streamer 1 ends at 1:30. So at 1:30, we're still pushing to Twitch. It's still the same stream. Twitch, everybody here is still reading the HLS manifest, for adaptive bitrate and whatnot that Twitch is generating. And I'm using Twitch as an example. This could be anywhere, right? You could have your own RTMP server and do all of the adaptive bitrate. I'm just using this for example. Okay, so now we're going to switch over to stream 2, and streamer 2 is now going to get pushed out to Twitch. But this stream never ends. It's like switching OBS scenes, except rather than switching an OBS scene, we're switching between RTMP streams or even just pushing a video out. So we basically create linear video on this side, and on this end, we're switching out where it's coming from. Let me scroll back just to... Let's see. Like, what if the MC announcer has a camera on them and then announce and say over to streamer 2 and compress the button? Xanus, that's exactly what we're creating. So there's going to be a whole front end to this switcher as well that's going to allow you to live switch between these. Preview what's actually coming out on stream 1 and stream 2. The same way you would preview what's coming out on an individual camera on like a preview monitor. And then you can say send stream 2 live. Same time to push multiple platform. Correct. So there could also be multiple endpoints. So let's see. WorldWake. So what's the benefit? The benefit of this thing? Okay, so simple pipelines, but why do you need GStreamer? So the controller could be a streamer too, right? You're just going to have access to either a web API to hit or, a web front end that you could manually do it, or it could be a producer, right? We're just talking about how do I switch between these things. Oh, excuse me. So WorldWake, if you're asking about like what the benefit to this thing that we're trying to build is if we think about, say, like an online conference or something like that, it's a very linear thing, right? You've got speakers back to back to back. You might have an MC in between. You want to be able to have somebody introduce, but also you may want to interlay like videos in between. So that's really the benefit, that there's no real way to do that currently, except like to have like a weird Skype call or Zoom call where you're like switching between things. It's just... And then how do you handle videos, right? So, we could script OBS and things like that to do this as well. But, why do you need OBS through all of that? The other thing that I'd like to ultimately do is start like putting lower thirds and things like that, information we know about the streamer. So the other idea here too is this scheduler is going to kind of control the schedule when you're not doing like a live broadcast. And the other thing that we can do is we can, as part of the live streamer setup in the schedule, we can have a fallback. So let's say you pre-recorded your video. In the event that the switcher recognizes the bitrate drop for some period of time coming from your stream, it can recognize that you are probably offline, and it could fall back to the video recording and probably even seek too close to the same amount of time through your talk that this is. Let's see. Thanks for the follow, Groom. Made a tase chair. Yeah, and Xanus, exactly. So this is actually one of the things that frustrates me the most. So I think if you've come from Begin's channel, thanks for the follow. What's in my OPSEC? So if you come from Begin's channel, you've probably heard him talk about it. But one of the things that I do is organize GopherCon. So we've scouted people for some of this stuff. And they want $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 for some of this crap. And they don't even offer this sort of seamless experience. They just give you the single RTMP endpoint. And so that stuff just drives me nuts. So we're going to build one open source, and Microsoft has their own use for it that they're going to use all of this for. And I got the thumbs up to build it completely open source, and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to give it away for free. So the simplest architecture would be to have a global receiver, which is receiving the incoming stream and sending out to receivers who don't need GStreamer. So GZB, we need GStreamer because we need to swap out the pipeline. So this is a whole mixing thing. We may allow people to add filters and effects in between automatically. There's a lot that we need to do to switch out these connections on the fly. So we can't just do a static one. Was that Xanus? Eric can use his cloud connections. Wait, what? Cloud connections to get it to be easy to set up the services. What do you mean, Rocker Boo? Did I miss what Xanus said? Let me scroll up. Scrolling up. Oh, right. The arm and a leg thing, yeah. Okay. So, thanks for the follow, Jason. Yeah, sorry, very vague. I'm more into developing arcades, not so much the admins. So we're trying to figure out to do the devs or weaknesses that we don't know. What we don't. Whisper me, and let's see. One place I can think of off the top of my head is container.training. Has some stuff that Jerome Pedizzoni has been working on that's like really comprehensive and learning that stuff. I'm trying to think. I've done some talks. If you whisper me, I'll pull up some and I'll send you, because I used to do workshops and talks as well. Rocker Boo, Eric, I'm going to build a streamer and Microsoft is going to pay for it. Exactly. I push open source hard. You know, that virtual kubelet thing was actually a project that I was supposed to help with that was just supposed to be a Microsoft thing. And I was like, we should build it as an open source thing that's pluggable. And now it's used by all kinds of people for all kinds of things. Okay, so is everybody kind of up to speed on what we're doing? It sounds like maybe GZB, you're not entirely sure what's dynamic about it. Maybe I didn't explain that clearly. Oh, okay, yeah. So you've got it now. Yeah, so we shouldn't have to mess with a lot of the async stuff, probably. We should be able to just write code to edit the pipeline, the GStreamer pipeline on the fly. And the Rust bindings for it are pretty good. Okay, so yeah. Can we contribute too? Absolutely. It is encouraged. I would love all of the help that we can get for this, and hopefully if I can get it done in time, it will be used for doing all of the production for GopherCon. I don't know where the endpoint is going to be yet. We're still deciding all of that, you know, the whole kind of Twitch, YouTube thing, because it is a paid conference for reasons. But yeah, all of that will be done, and that'll be a big trial for it. So we're going to be building all of this in Rust and GStreamer. And so here, all right, let's close this. Let's do some damage. So I guess one of the first things we should look at here Oh, you thought Go? Yeah, so the reason I can't do it with Go is if you want to do anything kind of video and audio related, it's often it's often written in C and C++. So the code to actually do all the RTMP stuff, to do video encoding and audio encoding, we'd be here for years while I learned how to do that and built it. But I don't want to write in C or C++, which means I need to use another language that interfaces with it. And RTMP, doing video streaming is very, very real time. Like you're going to notice if there's a delay. And it's really expensive to make calls out to C from Go. I can do all the pipelines and TCP work. Others can handle the GStreamer stuff. Oops.go. Okay. Uh-oh. Let's see what Rockerboo clipped me doing. So do you have anything built at all right now, or do you have just some experimenting with GStreamer on its own? I remember you accidentally streaming to it instead of Twitch. Yeah, so I was doing some stuff in C. I wanted to understand the libraries where they're very well documented. GStreamer has a bunch of tutorials, so I was really playing with it in C. I have done some experimentation, and we're going to go in there and check that stuff out now with some of the examples from the tutorials that have been recreated here inside the GStreamer Rust bindings library. So I have that, and I have some code that I've been working on mocking out what the user interface would look like, as far as having like a timeline view of which streams are scheduled where, and to be able to click on them and to preview the stream and stuff like that. Yeah, so yeah, I have a transcoder that's set up that I'm using. Let's talk about something. Oh, we're talking to TeamView. Okay, so let's look at like a basic example. And I think I demoed this on a prior stream. An example stream using GStreamer. Okay, so if we go into the tutorials section and we look here, right? Let's just look at the basic tutorial 1. And we'll just kind of walk through this. Ooh. Oh, that must just be how big this is. This is the Rust analyzer just going nuts trying to compile it. Come on. You can do it. Oh, then I don't know what our issue is. Let's Oh, you know what this is? This is a plugin that I have. Router. All right. So this plugin basically tries to look backward and find like the .git directory and things like that to figure out where the parent is. So let's see if this helps. Bin basic tutorial 1.rs. What do we got going on in chat? Nope, that's not it. What did we do to MVim? We killed it. We killed it. Let's try and remove the directory and see whether that helps. All right. Yeah, we've got something going on. Oh, there we go. Okay, so let's just walk through a basic example here of using GStreamer or using Rust to talk to GStreamer. Okay, So this is just our kind of like initialization of GStreamer itself. So the first thing we're doing was we're just taking this RTMP. Oh, I already did it. So this is this is just Nginx with the RTMP module that I set up running in Azure right now as just an endpoint for us to hit. All right, so that's just a URI. So here's the pipeline where we talked about we could do it on the command line. I don't like. Oh, somebody told me how to do this multiple lines. How can I make this string multiple lines for good formatting? Does that work? Oh, thank you. I was gonna drive me nuts. Like I hate, like the line should not be that long. Okay, so if you remember from that example pipeline that I pulled up, right? We saw down here, this command. So we can actually cheat and just give this parse launch function that whole thing, and it will. You have VSP extensions. What are you talking about, Rockaboo? So this will assemble the pipeline for us. And this will work for, basic pipelines, but when we get to the next example, then I'll show you kind of why that won't work for us. I have that plugin. Should I not have that plugin? Okay, so let's just walk through what this pipeline does first. That's the one you worked with, T. John, the one I documented. Yeah, I started working on trying to install that. Okay, so video test source just basically gives us a couple of like sample video things, and really it's just used for testing so that we don't have to like find a video or something like that to play. Q is going to end up giving us a buffer to buffer the data that's coming off of that on. Video convert, this is going to try to convert between multiple types, I believe. We could pull up the inspect on it. So then we're going to encode it to H.264 using the software encoder. And then we're going to pipe that into an FLV mux. And so what FLV is FLV is the flash video format. So that's the container type. How many people here are familiar with how videos are constructed, like video files? Because this might be helpful to understand. So I'll just kind of do like a quick too long didn't read of it, and you can ask questions if you have them. So when we talk about a video file, or I guess even an audio file for that example, if we talk about what we think about the file format, AVI, MP4, MKV, all of these things, FLV, that is known as the container. And so the container holds all of the video streams and audio channels that are within it. And different containers can support different encodings. And so inside of that, we can think of the video as having at least one audio channel and at least one video channel. It can have more than one. And you'll often get this if you have, you have it dubbed in other languages as well. You can also have things like WebVTT that's embedded in there for doing closed captioning. So those things are all multiplexed together and put inside of a container, which would be that. So now when we talk about each of the individual streams, like video, that can be encoded with a codec. Encode, decode is all that stands for. And that's how all the compression and things like that are done for how to encode it. Because when we think about like a video file, I forget like the math on if you actually did a 4K video or something like that, you would need like terabytes a second or something like that of data transfer to move it. We could quickly do the math, but what was I saying? Okay, so yeah, so that's the encoding. So for video, H.264 is probably one of them that you'll commonly see. And for audio, you might have MP3 or AAC or things like that. Yeah. So let me I'll pull up a couple of links. What's Hold on. Give me 2 seconds and I'll pull up a couple of links to send on this stuff. Let's see. I know that I mentioned it. Hold on. I know I have it on this other computer. I just sent it to somebody else. All right. Let me send it to myself over here. That is not what I wanted to do. And okay. Now some links. Yeah, so video is actually like really, really cool. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Chat just slow. What video processing stuff are we doing? Okay. Yeah, so we're just doing the rundown now. The too long didn't read of it, TS Jost, is we want to build a production switcher equivalent to what you would get with a hardware box switching between HDMI and SDI channels and stuff like that to some output. We want to build that, but all virtually. So we want, multiple RTMP inputs or video files, MP4s and stuff like that. And we want to be able to switch between them and send them to some output. So we can basically create linear video out to, say, Twitch, but by switching between multiple speakers coming in on RTMP, layering in videos, and then eventually maybe even doing stuff like layering lower thirds and stuff like that automatically. Let me pull up the links that I was just promising everybody. So we were just I was just giving a little rundown on container formats and encoding and things like that for anybody who's kind of new to that space. And these are a couple of great things if you kind of want to understand how that stuff is done. And so, yeah, so we have multiplex together inside of that container are those individual audio and video channels. So that's what this like FLV MUX thing is, right? We're multiplexing the video and audio channels back together into an FLV container, which is then being transferred over RTMP. A link to the architecture. Can I share that? Like this whole thing? Is this shareable? Is that what this button is? Export. They don't give us a way to start live collaboration. Boo, we don't have a way to just save this? Oh, there we go. Shareable link. Wait, architecture for the bot? Yeah, so Xanus, picture-in-picture is actually one thing that I would actually really like to do as well. But right now I want to be able to get kind of like just the switching part working, as well as this whole scheduler and fallback logic, where if streamer one, disappears, we want to be able to fall back to their video pre-recorded session of that, and to hopefully seek in time to there. You need to read instructions to pass this exorcism stuff. What are we talking about, McCann? Link for the bot. Oh. Shut up, Eric.dev. You're wrong. You could say that about Eric.dev too a lot. I am often wrong as well. Yeah, so let's update the bot really quick. No. Code, ericbotdev, ericbotdev.json, project. Ah. Wait. I swear I copied that link. You all watched me do it, right? Get shareable link. Oh, maybe I didn't. Maybe I just closed that out. What? I think I'm like clearing my... There we go. Oh, you failed at reading the instructions. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what, okay. So we've updated that. Boom, restart. Okay, so now it's updated. Yeah, so it just depends on how much information you want to understand, right? So, of course the link thing is going to be broken because of commas and crap.
Someone finds you interesting, sir. It appears
So-
we have a new follower.
Thanks for the follow, Devarch. So, you don't have to understand all of the internals of videos and audio and stuff like that, right? So, understanding vaguely on what a codec does and the container format essential here because we gotta kind of understand the pipeline and what it's doing for us, right? But as far as understanding the internals of that stuff, you don't have to. Those things are just there. I provide them as links to people if you really want to kind of understand low level how those things work because it can be very interesting. Okay, so here now we've got this. We're creating this mux into an FLV container. We're pushing it into a queue that's just going to provide a little bit of buffering. And then we're going to send that out to an RTMP sync. And then we have this location property, which is the URL of the sync. So moving on. So now we've got our pipeline. We're going to set the state to playing. And there's a series of states that the pipeline is going to go through beforehand. And it actually touches all of them. I forget what all of them are. I am not a GStreamer master. This is the first time I've really used GStreamer. So it's going to be a learning experience for me. Okay, so then we have a message bus that we're able to like listen for messages on. Will I save these broadcasts? Yes, so they will be in my VODs, and they will be. I also archive everything to YouTube too, so that they're there just for historical reasons. I will have to remember to break this one up though, just so that this whole session. Because we started with something else and switched streams, and I think it's just gonna end up saying one command. Oh yeah, so I'll have to add a YouTube command. But yeah, so I'll try to remember to split this one up into 2 videos, just so there can be a single playlist of just working on this. And once we get kind of a little bit of demo code up, then I will put this all on YouTube, and everybody can submit issues, pull requests, all that good stuff. Okay, so let's see. So now we're going to iterate over our bus, looking at the type of message and just for an error. And then at the end, we're going to shut down our pipeline. And that's it. So let's do it. So cd into code, GStreamer RS. Let's see. I always forget this. So everything needs to be rebuilt because we updated Rust. Build failed. Uh-oh. What is this? Failed to run custom build command for GStreamer RTSP server sys. And now I know we did this. All right. Can you check out my JS animation? Okay, so I remember we did something here. The last time I ran these demos, we figured this out. Yeah, so here it was. Our TSP server. Wait. Now I'm trying to remember what we did here. Oh, this was the ninja thing we did. What setup? Now I'm trying to remember where we went with all of this, because I remember I ended up having to download this and we compiled it. Oh, we did this Mason thing, right? Right? Now I'm trying to remember what we did, because I know that I installed this, that we were missing that one plugin, and then we had to manually run it down and set it up, and now I'm trying to remember. Oh, we've already got everything. RTSP server. Did we just copy that? Oh, wait. What do you mean by physical computer setup? Like a picture of like what my streaming setup looks like? Yeah, maybe that's what we did last time, Jason. Let's see. Where is my package config file here? Is it in build? Nope. Yeah. Okay. So maybe that's what we did. All right. Let's go back to code. And this was package config. I just thought I had installed all of this. So then, does this work? Yep. Now I just have to remember to do this so that we don't have to do it every time. I actually want to get, there's a new version of GStreamer that's out too that I really want to get working, just because I have like this natural inclination to try to use like the newest version of everything, even when it's untested, which is what I think Rocker Boo was trying to yell at me for earlier with whatever plugin I have installed. So I don't think I have a picture offhand, at least reachable. But if that's something people are interested in doing, I can certainly take a picture and like post it on Twitter or something and link out to it. Okay, so here's our examples. I always forget target debug. So let's, if we do a target debug basic tutorial 1, then what we should get is that's going to hang. What's your distro, by the way? So this is Windows with a really cool skin. No, it's Arch Linux. So okay, so I had learn TV transcoder editor. Okay. So here is our test video source. And this is just running Nginx with an RTMP module, which is transcoding it into, well, repackaging, I should say, because it's keeping the same format, into HLS. And if anybody's not familiar with kind of like adaptive bitrate and HLS and MPEG dash and that stuff, comment in the chat and we can sideline for a second and talk about that as well. Yeah, so I use Yay too. It turns out that the RTSP module though isn't in any of that. It didn't come with all the other GStreamer stuff. So, and TeamView, you got to recognize here, buddy. Like, lots of people are here for like very specific reasons, and like if everybody's interested in seeing your animation, awesome, we'll pull it up. But right now, everybody's kind of all on the same topic of Rust and GStreamer and understanding video stuff, and you're just kind of like sliding in, like stop everything and look at my animation that doesn't really have anything to do with any of this. Okay, so we've got all of this working. So now what we want to do is we're gonna swap this kind of out and look at a more, not necessarily advanced, but less magic version of this. So the way adaptive bitrate works is we have, let's pull this up. Actually, here, we can look at one. So if we look at this being generated here, oh, this is going to open it up in like VLC or something. Okay, that's not what we wanted. All right, let's switch over here. It's going to be in my downloads folder. Tab new, downloads. All right, so this is what a manifest file looks like. And so what this is a series of segments. And usually the segments, these are MPEG transport streams. So the segments can be, 2, 6 seconds. You can kind of really define that. And they represent just a small block of time. So if you think about taking like a video and then chopping it up in very small sections, and then you generate like this index of what are the segments, what are their names, how do I go find them, right? And so the way adaptive bitrate works is one stream comes in, we transcode it to a bunch of different resolutions, generate a bunch of these segments for each of those resolutions, and then the manifest file shows the individual ones. And what this allows the player to do is it'll fetch the manifest file, it'll start trying to pull one of the segments, it'll be buffering these things and playing them, and then what'll happen is if it's not able to fetch if it's not able to fetch the segments fast enough, it'll look at the manifest file and say, do you have a lower bitrate version of this? And then it's going to go fetch those segments. And so if you're ever watching like Netflix or Hulu or Twitch or YouTube and your picture gets kind of like blurry for just a few seconds and then fixes itself, that is basically the adaptive bitrate algorithm in the player deciding, oh, I'm not able to keep up with this. I'm going to go fetch a lower quality version in order to optimize for keeping the stream going rather than that annoying like stopping and buffering that we used to get if you're as old as I am. All right, McCann, catch you later. So yeah. So to answer your question, Jason, the streams are generated at stream time. So it's transcoded as the stream's passing through, and then those files are stored, and then everybody's fetching those same files, and you can send all of those out to a CDN. And actually, when you think about it, in addition to just supporting multiple people with different types of varying internet connectivity, this is also very useful because things like RTMP are very, very fast. They're low latency, but they don't scale very well. So connecting multiple people to it and then feeding the stream to them is actually very expensive. So it just doesn't scale out as well. Whereas the adaptive bitrate stuff, these segments are just being served over HTTP, which we already know how to do that really well, which means we take these things and we push them out onto a CDN. So any person in a local area pays the first hit on it, but then everybody else is just fetching it off of the local, CDN endpoint. Let's see. But as it is, streaming does it generate windows of streaming and cache them locally for a while, so client can pick them up. Yeah, so the CDN stuff, yeah. You've half tuned out, Dr. Dumenberg. Am I boring you to tears here? Thanks for the follow. Hi, my name is Ilnano. Yeah, me too. Oh, the meeting you're in. Okay. I was like, yeah, I am too. This is going to be the type of thing we're going to work on for quite some time. Okay, so what were we doing? Oh, okay. So we were gonna look at basic tutorial 2. What's this one? Okay, so this one's a slightly different example. So we've got our test source still, except now rather than generating the entire pipeline in one command that we're parsing the same way we do on the command line, now we're gonna start assembling this pipeline ourselves. Eric jumping into private conversations. I know, I'm just nosy like that. So, okay, so here we're spinning up the source, and let me know if everybody wants to just jump straight to code, we can. But this is sort of like, trying to comprehend what all of this stuff does is probably going to be helpful. Okay, so here we have our source, and this is a video test source, which is the thing we saw passed in the command line that we parsed before. And that just generates that crazy, thing you saw. The sync, this is an auto video sync. And so the way an auto video sync works is it just tries to figure out how it can play video on our local system. And it could be SDL or something like that, right? So this is essentially just going to be like, find me a way in Linux to display this video. So we create our pipeline. We add all our elements to the pipeline. And then we try to do some magic where we tell it to link the sync to the source. And if we look at this GST inspect, and we look at, like, say, our auto video sync here, we'll be able to see, where is it? Where's our capabilities? Oh, here we go, the Xvideo RAW. So those are the kind of formats, and they'll try to negotiate the format that they can both use. Yeah. Yeah, I installed that. Okay, so we've linked them. So we're just setting a property. We're setting our pipeline to play, and then same thing, we're kind of listening on the bus for an error to occur, and that's it. So let's run it. Basic tutorial 2. And there we go. So there is our test video source playing locally. Oh wow, everybody turned down the brightness quite a bit. We've got like no color here. There's your bright pink, Dr. Dumenberg. Okay, so I still didn't figure out the whole I couldn't get the leader T stuff to work. I set it up, it didn't work. So I have to play with that. Okay. Yeah, well, I think my binding might not be working properly. So let's now look at another example. Basic 3. There we go. Okay, so now we start getting into the territory of like we're gonna assemble everything ourselves. Oh, that could be, you're right, that could be an ordering for me. I'll have to remember to look at that after stream. Okay, so I'll change the leader in the docs. Okay, so here we've got our source, and we've got a URI decode bin now. So we've slightly switched this up. So what this is going to do is it's going to take a URL, and it's going to determine how to get a source for it. So that's going to be like, hey, it's an RTMP endpoint. We know it's really an RTMP source. It's an RTSP. It's, you know, HTTP, whatever. Now we have an audio convert, which is going to try to convert between whatever audio type comes out of here and our audio sync. It's going to try to negotiate a shared format to pass through that pipeline. And so then we're going to resample the audio. And so we assemble the pipeline. We add all of the elements to the pipeline. These, we're trying to link them automatically. So convert, we're going to connect to resample. We're going to connect resample to sync, and we kind of create this ending thing. You like GStreamer, Jason? Okay, and so now here, what we're doing is we basically get a callback, because at the time that this is created, we don't know what pads it has, because we don't know what the source type is. So what's going to happen is, as the pipeline starts, and that is interpreted, so as that's interpreted, we're going to get these kind of messages. So we come in here, we look for the sync pad on the convert filter. We're just assigning that to a variable. We're checking to make sure that it's not already linked. If we've already linked to the source, then we can't link another thing to the same pad. So we return early. Otherwise we hit here. So then we look at our source, that audio source one, look at its capabilities. If it has no caps, we're gonna panic. Otherwise we're gonna get the first structure off of it. That way we can ultimately get the name of the pad. If the pad name starts with audio X raw, that's the raw audio we want coming out of the element, right? If it's not audio, we're skipping because right now we don't really care about anything other than audio. And then here we're going to link that pad that we found to our sync, effectively connecting our source to our sync because of the other things in the way. And then same thing, here's just our normal starting the pipeline playing and listening for messages on the bus. So, and where do we have this going?
What brings you to the land of the gatekeepers?
And that is it playing here. And so we only have audio there, right? Is everybody following along, or am I flying through this pretty quickly? How do you ban someone on Twitch? You just type /ban in their name. Oh yeah, that was pretty loud. Because my desktop audio is set pretty loud. If I could have Arch memes playing with your streamer in a window, that'd be cool. What do you mean? All right, so now let's look at, did we look at tutorial 4? Oh yeah, I don't think we looked at this one. What is this one doing? Play bin. Did we look at this one before? I thought we had one. I thought we had modified one to send it out to the RTMP. I don't use PC to stream Twitch, but nice try, buddy. Oh. Your mic is at around -24 decibels, by the way. Might want to look into getting it to 6 decibels after stream. I don't know. I mean, is the mic really, really low? Like you stream to OBS and then use VLC or whatever in OBS to read the RTMP stream back. All right, here. Well, I can give it a little gain right now. All right. How are we doing now? All right. Like you stream to OBS and then use VLC or whatever in OBS to read the RTMP stream back in. So you wouldn't stream to OBS. I mean, you could have a VLC source inside of OBS that pulls in an RTMP feed. Are you pretty familiar with Rust? Are you learning that at the same time? I'm learning that at the same time. So your local box to Azure transcode back to your OBS. But why would you do that, Rocker Boo? Why would you go from your local box to a transcoder and then back to your own OBS? Oh, I got you. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I think 12 was an interesting one. So here we've got our URI. We're going to fetch a WebM file. Okay, so now that wasn't the one I'm thinking it is. I'm trying to remember. Was it 9? Each one of these kind of like demonstrates individual things. Okay, so this is just printing stream information. Okay. So we need to find one, and the crazy thing is I had written one of these and then I trashed it. So I'm trying to think. Tutorial 3 is probably the closest, although we don't have video here. So in order to get this to work, we need to... Wait, where's our sync? Okay, so we would need to create an auto video sync as well. Let's see. Um, 278. I'm just seeing if we can find one that's closer to what we're looking for. Oh, so this one's an interesting one. So we have our test audio source. We're splitting that, which is what T does. Putting that into a queue, converting the audio, resampling it, sending the audio out, but we're also sending it to a wave scope and sending that to video. So let's run that one. 7. Wait. Oh, because I CD'd down into that directory. Turn it off! Turn it off! Alright, I need to mess with my audio settings too. I was not expecting that. Alright. Let me turn down the desktop audio here, so we don't have that issue. Alright, so that's going to be way down. And then I'll just turn this up. Yeah, so that's going to be the issue, is you're not going to hear the you're not going to hear the sounds from the bot with that turned way down like that. I'm going to have to figure out something with the audio for these videos so they're not loud. So for now, you just won't be able to hear. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if I can get this fixed real quick. Wow, OBS is like just lagging out on me. All right, let me know how the music is here. Yeah, we could probably change the volume level in this too. But right now I just sort of have like this clash of like, how loud is it in my ear versus how loud is it on stream, versus like, you want to hear the sounds louder, but you want to hear the music lower. And I have to sit here and tweak that at some point. Okay, so here we're adding all of these things to our pipeline. We're linking the audio source to the T. We're just linking them together. I feel like the music volume's still low. Oops. Well, now it is because I muted it. Okay. So here, we've got some interesting things happening here too. So, we're getting the static pad name sync off the audio cue, and then we're linking our cue to that. Okay, and then yep, so then here this is a source number because this T thing can have more than one pad for each of these, and that's what that represents. Okay, and then we're linking all of these. We create our pipeline. Okay, so what is this one doing? Let's find out. Number 7. Oh, no. That's not the waveform. Oh, that is that one. It was 8 that we wanted to look at. Also, you're potentially doing copyright infringement by playing music. Yeah, I'm using a service that is allowed for that. I make a super creative remix song. I can hear that. Dum, dum, dum. Super creative. All right, so what's this one doing? Here we're getting our chunk size, our sample rate. Oh, this is an app source. So this is like our own plugin stuff. All right, so this is not what we would be doing. So I think 3 is like basically the closest thing. Oh, here's where we get into some Rust that's new to me. A downgrade. Where's the Git? Oh, for what? Like my GitHub? Okay, so, I wonder how far we're gonna make it before I end the stream today. Oh, I haven't started, the code isn't here yet. Oh, Rocker Boo. Okay, so one thing we can do here is, I don't know how much progress we're going to make on this because I'll probably only stream for, I don't know, maybe like another 30 minutes or so. Is there anything anybody wants me to walk through with this, or do we want to just try to see how far we can get with modifying one of these examples before I call it, even if we don't manage to finish it? No, it's 3. There we go. So there's our URI to code. And this is resampling the audio only. So we're not doing anything with the video yet. And this one is just connecting our source to our sync. Just thinking where we want to start here. I feel like one of these is going to be our starting point. At least a decent start to it. And we have to sort of figure out how we want to organize this code architecturally. TeamView, why would I make you a mod? Like, I don't understand. Yeah. Oh, yeah, see, the sound doesn't play. Yeah, we gotta mess with that. But yeah, TeamView, like I've asked, like I don't even know how many times, and other people have asked you like to stop spamming the channel with your bot, and you kept doing that. Why would we trust you to be the enforcer when you can't keep the rules? Yeah, he was in 2 or 3 other streams I was watching yesterday too, where it was an issue as well. Okay. I don't know that we're going to make it very far here. All right, did you seriously make something on freaking SoundCloud? All right, let's see. What do you got? Uh, hold on. It's official. I have hit meme status. I will never live that day down. Okay. So this is that. All right. I'm thinking we wait to start this. Because I don't know that we'll make very much progress on this in like the next few minutes. Does anybody have questions about like video and all of that? Maybe we can just kind of continue down that sort of conversation about how this stuff works, what the end goals of this are, things like that. Because I probably won't stream more than another 30 minutes at most. And I don't know whether we'll make it very far here. I mean, we can start filling in some of this, but we're probably not going to see it run before I call it quits. But we can start fresh tomorrow morning working on this. We'll just do it straight out at the gate. Mentoring on what issues? Like with building this? Is that what you mean? Or just in general? Yeah, and I mean, I'm by no means an expert either. You know, I'm familiar with some of this stuff because I've worked in the space, but I'm definitely not an expert. I've never actually like built my own codec or something, right? I think it would be cool to try. That might be a fun experiment for the future. But yeah, but anything that I do know, I'm happy to share. I have a Go question. Can you write a conditional to check if a string is all capitalized and ends in a question mark? I mean, if we just did, I don't know, let's just do, whoa, crazy. Okay, so let's just say that you had this string, right? Like or we have our string. So we have s equals foo, right? And I don't know, s2 equals foo. I would say the best way to do this would to say be if s or strings dot to uppercase, right? Am I remembering this correctly? Package strings. Or is it to upcase? I think it's to upper. To upper. Okay. And what's our order? Okay. So what I would say is if to upper, wait. Check if a string is all capitalized and ends with a question mark. Okay, so if it's all capitalized and ends with a question mark. Yeah, so if we did a to upper on the string, like, right, let's call it S2, right? This would return false, right? So this would probably be how I would implement it, right? Because if we uppercase the string, and I guess we could also do strings dot has suffix s question mark. So this would short circuit. So we're first going to check if the string ends in a question mark. If it doesn't, that's obviously going to bail out, right? And then after that, we move on to the next test. And the next test is going to uppercase our string. Oops. Right? That's going to uppercase our string. And then we're going to compare it. If the two are not the same, then we know that the uppercase managed to uppercase something. Right? Does that make sense, OG Jake? All right. I've had enough of that. It's just it's gotten to be entirely too much. I try my best to not do that, especially for younger people, and to try to encourage them to, you know, be aware of the effects of people around them. But this is 2 days in a row, not just on my stream, but on everybody's stream that I have been on. Thanks for the sub. Yeah, I mean, I try my best, especially because the programming community on Twitch is so small. Like, trying to ban people from it is really hard because it really limits things. But I watched him do it on 4 or 5 streams to people yesterday, and then this is just it's too much. So okay. Oh, you were using a slice to get the last character. I mean, you could do that too. You could do that too. And I'm sure, you know, assembly-wise, they probably end up going to be the same exact thing. Yeah, and so, yeah, I mean, he's trying to be, you know, he's the age I was when I started programming. So you want people to be encouraging, but you also need to learn how to behave yourself in a community. And it's not valuable to make a stream all about you and just, yeah. You should have seen yesterday with the bot spamming. Oh. All right. Any other questions? Like maybe we just make the last like half an hour about banning people and answering tech questions. Is there anybody else that we should ban? Thanks for the follow, TS Jost. Oh wait, what was the bot's name? Thanks for the sub, Jason. Does anybody remember the bot's name? I want to make sure that's banned too. What's the question? Nightmare Assistant. Done. Eric bot dev. Eric bot dev is a very friendly bot. It doesn't spam the channel. There's this guy Rocker Boo you should ban. Yeah, Rocker Boo does keep trolling me quite a bit. I mean, yeah, the cyberbullying is not cool, Rocker Boo. It is not tolerated here. What was the question you had, Arbaya? Thanks for the sub, Poo Poo the Gorilla. Those days you did too. Oh, look at this. I think this is the first time I've seen a hype train thing pop up. Oh, no question. Was just thinking of a question in response to we can dedicate the last 30 minutes to banning people and questions. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, now I have to play with the audio because now we don't have our bot sounds very loud. I thought I hit Jason. If I did not, thank you so much for the sub, Jason. All right, we got to figure out our sounds here. Yeah. So I need to pull this one down. And let's see.
Wonders may never
There we go.
cease.
So
we have received a new subscriber.
I'm just going to have to figure out when we go to do things like the video, how I'm going to do that. Look at all these first badges. Or, yeah, the founder badges. Okay. Founder Club. Okay. I'm just thinking of how we want to design this too. Fire off any questions you have that are just completely unrelated to. I'm happy to answer those just while I sort of think about how we're going to design this thing. I've had one of those like weeks where everything is a brain teaser. So my brain hurts trying to solve problems right now. What's my favorite color and programming language? And do I work full time? So my favorite color, I don't know, blue, I guess. Programming language currently is Go. That's been my favorite for the last almost decade. Thanks for the follow, iSatisfied. I can guess. I think Dr. Doomenberg is pink. I'm pretty sure I know his favorite color. What was my last gas purchase?
Someone finds you interesting.
Stupak.
It appears we have a new follower.
Are we talking about just in general, or are we talking about like computer gear? I'm unable to use Go because unused variable is a syntax error. I actually liked that about it, TS Jost. So I haven't bought any new guitars in a while. Probably the last gas purchase is probably like some more Hue lights. Oh, I just built a new tower that's sitting under the desk that is going to be set up over here with Windows on it in case I need to use like Adobe Premiere and things like that. I did buy this monitor too that is connected here. Yeah, that was pretty expensive. It's like a 30-inch ultra wide. I probably spent more money on that than I should have. So a gas purchase is gear acquisition syndrome. That's when you get addicted to buying crap. So, like, for guitarists, it's new guitars and guitar pedals and things like that. And for, programmers, it's new monitors and keyboards. And, oh no, the Moonlander. The Moonlander was my newest gas purchase. Projector acquisition syndrome. Oh, not while developing and moving things around. So, what you can do if you're doing stuff is you can ignore those things too, right? So if we start talking about like an unused import, like let's say we're no longer using fumped here, right? So you can also do this and assign it to the blank identifier, like blanking on the name of it, and then that would prevent the error from happening. So you can do some stuff like that. Adobe for video editing. Yeah, so I wanted to try and do some YouTube videos, and especially in the container space. And I'm happy to do some stuff on stream here. Actually, if anybody here is interested in container related things, Aaron Schlesinger and I are going to do like an AMA one evening, September 1st, on container stuff. But I can do some container stuff here. We can work on container related things. But I wanted to do some YouTube videos, and it actually turns out that I hate prepping for like prepared things. I just have a hard time like creating content that way, writing blog posts, writing slide decks, recording something 15 times, and then recording some things 15 times and editing them. And so I've actually fallen in love with like this live streaming thing, because that's totally up my alley, just working on code and talking about it. Like that's what I'd prefer to do. Oh, somebody asked me, I missed a question. Somebody also asked something about if I work full-time. Yeah, Poo Poo the Gorilla asked if I worked full-time. Yes, I do work full-time. So I am a principal developer advocate, which is basically just a software engineer for a principal software engineer that works for Microsoft in developer relations. So yes, I work full-time as an engineer, and I'm fortunate that I get to work on open source as my job and stream it when I do it, which is how I manage to do stuff like this. And streaming is kind of developer relations, I guess. Okay, now back to the other stuff. What stream for AMA? I'm not sure whether it's going to be his or mine yet. I guess we need to decide that and let people know. Jason, do I keep a schedule? Yes. So aside from few exceptions, I Monday, Wednesday, Thursday stream from 1 p.m. to 4, either between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I try to keep that schedule as consistently as possible. I will, on occasion, stream an extra day. So Aaron's not here on Friday, tomorrow. So I'm actually going to stream tomorrow as well between those times. And then occasionally on the weekends and things like that, you might catch me on, like I got on this weekend trying to do the Rustlings exercises. And then sometimes, especially every other week, sometimes I might get on like late at night and work on stuff like my bot or whatever. But my schedule is fairly consistent, and then I add extra days. DaVinci Resolve works on Linux. I haven't played with DaVinci Resolve. I should look into that. Wait, I'm still there. Hats off to me. Still where? Microsoft? If that surprises you, GZB, you should look at a lot of the stuff that Microsoft is doing in the open source space. And I also refer you back to where I got to say I get to work full time on open source and stream it. And they pay me while I do that. So that's sort of like a dream job. I get to work on Kubernetes and Docker and do all this open source contributions and stuff like that. And I get to do it completely. Okay. Like, gotcha. So I streamed for like 8 or 8.5 hours on Saturday. That was a lot. Another question. So strings to upper S2 equals S2 won't account for numbers. How can you make it to where a string of numbers won't get caught by this conditional? What do you mean, OG Jake? You don't want any numbers in the string at all? That it must be a word followed by a question mark? Because if that's the case, then you might want to consider regular expressions. I'm not seeing why it's useful to force move branches in Git. Yeah, don't force anything in Git. That's not good. You only do that if you hate the other people who use your Git repo. I mean, we can come up with a sample of how to do that in regular expressions. Don't use regex in prod. I would be curious your opinion. Does contributing to open source look good for resume for new jobs, or does it still break down to those hard interview questions? It would depend on the company. Some places are still very much the like ridiculous interview questions and stuff like that. Like Google and Facebook, you're probably not going to get around those sorts of things. But no, open source looks very, very good, especially if it's a project that the company uses or is the sponsor of. I think open source looks really great. I mean, a lot of my jobs in recent years have been due to my open source contributions. I don't have a formal CS coursework and hate the interview questions. Gotchas. Goombach, me too. So I'm actually a high school dropout. So I went back years later to get my GED, but I never went to college. I don't have a formal computer science background. Just completely self-taught. I think I'm a decent enough programmer, and I've been fortunate enough to work on some cool things. But I don't interview well with those like trick computer science questions, because a lot of those things turn out to be like, well, you've practiced the answer to that, so it becomes really natural for you. So yeah, there's some stuff like that. I've recommended on the stream before a book by a coworker of mine called The Imposter Handbook, which is good for kind of teaching some of those kind of CS theory things that are essential kind of for everybody, like big O notation and things like that. I've plugged that before on the channel. Maybe I should create something in the bot that does that, and I need to read through those again myself. Well, read through the first one again. The second one I have not read yet. I need to. We need to make a better Git which is modular and not branch based. Any thoughts? I'm not sure what you mean, GZB, because branches are an illusion in Git. So they're really just based on tags. So it kind of all works, the same under the hood. I mean, we'll pull up the Imposter book and we'll put it in there. All right, what do we want the command to be? Imposter handbook, code, ericbotdev dot JSON. I don't know. We're going to put you there for now. That's the action. All right. All right, there we go. Oh. Cannot unmarshal bool into struct. What did we break? Oh, we deleted something. There we go. There we go. Imposter book. Okay. Linux should be more modular. Like, what if everything was just a file? Isn't that the way it already is, Stupak? Oh, crap. I don't know why I just typed that with 2 O's. What if, like, bro, like, if the, like, Linux, like, kernel, like, was, like an expression, bro? But yeah, I love working on open source stuff. Wait, me. Impressive inspires people like me. What do you mean, Goomba? Did you come up with the regular expression, OG Jake? Because it should be something, you know, just as simple as like, right? Something like that. Nope. Plus. Oh, no formal education, but still grinded and got good stuff from working hard. Yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to commitment and what kind of time and energy you're willing to put into it. You know, it's not required. You know, I'm sure I have some gaps in my knowledge. Here, okay. So we'll do that. Hey Eric, let's do coding challenges someday. What do you mean? So R equals regex dot must compile. Oops. You mean like the ones I've been trying to do on exorcism that are like making me fail? Okay. Actually been a little while since I've done. What is your guide to getting started with open source? I've tried looking through those sites that aggregate the good first contribution tag or whatever, and nothing ever catches my interest, or no one is even contributing anymore. Yeah, so I think that let me open this link and then coding games. Okay, so it's some sort of like programming challenge thing. I mean, we could do it sometime. Which guy? Okay, so your question about getting started in open source. So the thing that I would tell you is find a project that interests you. Like, what are you using right now, and what problems are you having with it? And then you're kind of motivated to find out what the issue is. And sometimes what I will do is I'll find a feature that I would like to add, or one that's in the issue tracker, and then I'll just try and implement it. And maybe somebody beats me to it, but or I never finish it, but you end up learning a lot more about the internals of the project through trying to implement that thing. And that's the thing sometimes I think that's missing from, you know, these like starter tasks and things like that, is sort of familiarizing yourself with the code base and trying to implement something low level. is going to get you all over the code base, right? And so the other thing I would say is that open source contributions aren't limited to code, right? So the other things that you can do is go through and try to reproduce bugs, right? And plus one that you can recreate it and add some additional context to it, right? Or things that you don't or no longer matters or things like that. That stuff all helps. Help document things. That's going to help familiarize you with a project. So all of those things are contributing to open source. So writing code is not the only way to contribute to open source. I think just to find a package you like or use, look at the issues, find a simple one, or start with the documentation. Yeah, and so here's the thing I would try to push anybody who wants to truly like be like ingrained in open source is if you're using an open source project and you have an issue with it, try to fix it. Don't file the issue first, see if you can fix it first. And so like I try to do that as much as I can, filing PRs instead of filing issues, right? And if we all do that, you know, people get overwhelmed. And, you know, granted, there's going to be projects you're going to have an issue with that you're not going to understand really well. Thanks for the follow, GoDev. So, you know, there's going to be things that are like far beyond your technical ability to fix. And like, yes, you should file an issue there. But, you know, if you're using, I don't know, I use it like because I've been messing with NVim. If you're using a random Vim plugin and it has some weird quirk, see if you can figure it out on your own really quick and then file a PR for it, you know? Plus you get into the contributors list. So start with using more repos, then I guess I don't really use a lot of stuff. I'm sure you use more open source stuff than you think you do. You know, even the standard library of languages that you're using. It's funny. We've got like a whole mismatch of stuff. So I'm pretty sure the stream title still says that we're working on the GStreamer stuff that we're going to be working on tomorrow. And I have the Go programming language docs pulled up right now while we're talking about like open source contribution. Okay, so let's look at that. Let's see, must compile. Okay, yep, that's a string with our regular expression. Here's our regex. Nope, nope. Where's our match? Oh, I suppose we could do that. We could just use match string. I like using the must compile just so that we know that it's a valid thing. But we could just do match string and then I always figure our pattern first, then string. So then we could do this, right? Let's test it. We'll just fumpt print line the result of that, and then we can do the same thing for S2 and then S3, and then we'll just create a all right, let's see. We'll just cd into temp real quick. Go run. What do we call it? Conditional. Okay. Undefined reg. Ah, I did it again. It's regexp. Oh. All right, there you go. First one matches, false, false. And here, I will copy all of this for you, and I will put it in a gist. I keep doing that. Oh, come on. One of these days I'll get my copy and paste right. Okay. There you go, OG Jake. Let me scroll back here. What do we got? What language do you code in? The only reason, the only one I really think about when I use it being open source is Sphinx. Code mainly in PHP, JS. Okay. Any libraries you use from there? Yeah, and so the other thing too is also like if you create things, right? So when you're trying to solve your own problems, are they useful to other people, right? And I'll give you a prime example. We're talking about that today and what we're trying to build, right? Here's a real problem that I have for the conference I organize. It's a problem that Microsoft currently has for, you'll see reference in like that transcoder thing. So, Microsoft has this like Learn TV thing that they're doing. So they have that problem for there as well as their Twitch channel. I know lots of other people have this problem, so I'm going to solve it and I'm going to, release it completely open source. And so thanks for the follow, Paul Blart. So I think that's the important thing, right? Like there's so many different ways of contributing to open source, right? Like we talked about kind of documentation and pruning issues and stuff like that, contributing code and tickets. Then there's also just new projects altogether and, helping people.
Someone finds you interesting, sir.
Do so.
It appears we have a new follower.
I get paid to make those things though, and my current main project at work, my boss wants to become a service. Yeah, and there's always a struggle between open source and altruism that comes from that and, making money. And that can be a struggle, right? But sometimes you don't have to open source everything. And sometimes the product is the service you provide on top of that and the support and things like that. So, it's difficult to navigate, but sometimes there's little pieces of whatever you're building that is not the secret sauce of the company that can be given away for free and not have some sort of financial impact on your business. And I get it, right? Like not every company is like that. And I'll give you a story from mine and, hopefully it doesn't get me in trouble, but Disney to this day still is not very big on contributing to open source. And so I worked for them early on in my career for about 5 years. I was a senior web developer there. And at the time I was it was all Java and Java-based stuff. So completely unrelated to what I was working on there. At home, I did open source stuff with Ruby on Rails. And so I contributed to Ruby on Rails, but they didn't like that. You weren't allowed to contribute to open source while you were employed by them. Because I guess the lawyers had the feeling that if somebody used open source code that I happened to work on and it failed, that they would sue Disney or something. It was like the weirdest explanation ever. So there's still going to be companies, and even today, right? Like that was, I don't know, 2009, 2010 or something. But even a decade later, there are still a number of companies that are just like, no, we're not sharing it because it's our intellectual property, or no, we're not going to have you contribute to open source for some other weird legal reason. So it happens, and it just depends on, where you fall in all of that and the importance of open source to you. If you want to work in open source and work on open source stuff, then you may choose an employer based on your ability to do so, whether that be they just allow you to use your own time for that, or they allow you to use company hours for it. So me, a lot of my choice in employer comes from my ability to contribute to open source and not, or I shouldn't even just say contribute to open source. I should say contribute to the open source community, because I don't just mean contributing to the projects. I want to go out and speak. I want to give talks. I want to help bring up the people who are coming up behind me, right? Like, I'm not old, but I'm not in my early 20s anymore. So, I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to create content. I want to be able to do this stuff and outreach. And so a lot of my choice in employers is really my ability to do that now. All right. It looks like it's like about 4:30. It's about time for me to call it and get some dinner. I have not eaten yet. Did anybody have any other questions? Go, Rust, GStreamer, project related, just one of these sort of conversations about the tech community and open source and how to navigate all that. I actually love having conversations like this, because they're not things that you get to run into. You don't find a tutorial for it, right? Thanks for the follow, Aka's Code. Seems like it has a startup behind it. So far I've been enjoying Rust a lot. Should I delve into Go too? Etra, what are you using it for? I guess that would be my question. Yeah, so I'm not into language battles either, and one of the reasons why, like, many of the people who are in here now came over from Beacon Bot's channel too. One of the reasons, like, his stream resonates with me is we have very much the same opinion on things like that. A programming language is a tool, and you're never going to have one tool in your toolbox. I do mostly Go now for like the last decade, but I did Ruby for years, and it'll still have a special place in my heart. And there's still sometimes I want to build a little quick web app proof of concept, and I freaking throw it together in Rails because it's fast, right? I'm trying to do embedded stuff. I still do some C and C++ there. I'm trying to learn this thing with GStreamer. Okay, Rust is a much better choice than Go because of the interoperability with C. So I think that having multiple languages in your toolbox is important, and it's almost, obviously front end, you still have to do JavaScript or TypeScript, right? You just can't get around that. So have as many of them there, use them when they feel, right. I don't get into the whole language zealot thing where it's just like, you must use Go and you must use it for everything. Thanks for the follow, Etra. I'm currently using Rust for game hacking because it allows to easily interact with FFI and just mess with assembly and Rust at the same time. That sounds really, really awesome. I actually really want to do more assembly language and reverse engineering of binaries and things. So, yeah, do you stream, Etra? Because that's actually something I really want to get into more. I actually should do some of the assembly stuff on Exorcism too. Do you all still experience the whole you must use one language thing? Like, I would have hoped that would be not as common as it once was. No, I don't. I'm thinking of doing it when I move out, but not yet. I'm still a newbie though. Don't expect big projects from me. Hey, I mean, anything you share, right? I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't have a lot of experience in C or C++. Therefore, like things like FFI and ABI are like abstract concepts to me. I've never really had to deal with them too much. And so guaranteed you know more than me in those spaces. So what you feel like is newbie knowledge to you is not necessarily newbie knowledge to everybody, right? The problem is when starting out, you kind of can only commit to learning one enough to get a job. Yeah, to get a job, to clarify what Rockerboo is saying, like if you want to be employed doing it, you should have at least one language that's like your go-to language that you know really, really well. Because it's going to be really hard to, if you know 10 languages at like the 20% level, to get a job doing that. So yes, you should have at least one language, and that can shift over time what your primary is, but you should have one language that you're mastering or a master of at any given moment in time. And that language may change over the years. But it's over. The meeting is over. Your go-to, pun intended. Yeah, my go-to is currently Go. So I guess so. All right. I am going to head out and get something to eat. Aaron Schlesinger, who usually streams after Begin at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, is out due to some dental work he's having done. But I'm going to stream in his place tomorrow. So I don't normally stream on Fridays, but I am going to stream tomorrow. So 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will be right back here. So looking forward to it. We'll try and start on this switcher tomorrow. So I know GZB asked yesterday. Thanks for the follow, Enya. So I know GZB asked yesterday whether I could raid him, and we were already planned to raid Aaron. So let's go ahead and raid GZB today. Oh yeah, so Rockerboo, I had to disable scene yesterday because TeamViewer kept changing to it, spamming it over and over and over again so that nobody could see the desktop. That should have got a ban. I was close. So, all right, time to raid. Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to tomorrow.